the beginning and the end, and before beginning and after the end. That which is beginningless and endless, this we refer to as Shiva. If one touches this dimension, everything else becomes unimportant. In many ways, everything else becomes quite irrelevant. In many ways, everything else doesn't even exist for you. But between the beginning and the end, there is a whole lot of drama. This drama is a play of forms, many kinds of forms, the galaxies, the many universes, systems like our solar system, in trillions, floating around, all essentially a play of geometrical forms. Well, right now you and me, all play of geometrical forms. Whether your geometry has come together in a reasonably good or perfect way, or barely synchronized geometry. If your geometry… I'm not trying to take a mathematics class for you in the morning, but you are a product of the world of forms, many types of forms. All forms have shapes. A form means invariably it belongs to the world of geometry, or our perception of forms. If it comes with a reasonable sense of understanding, then we say, it's geometry. If we get the geometry of our form, our individual form, and many other forms around us right, then we have a clear perception of life and a friction-free function within and outside. It's from this context it is from this context that in certain cultures, they described an enlightened being as a circle. In the Far East, an enlightened being is referred to as Enchi, which essentially means a circle. Not because they were round of body, well, in those cultures they were but not because of that. A circle is a form of least resistance. If you spin a triangle, it's going to cut up a lot of things around it when it moves. If you spin a circle, it moves smoothly through the existence. Circle essentially represents a least resistance form. Even today, in English language, the brightest idea that seems to have occurred to human beings is discovering a wheel. The terminology or the term rediscovering a wheel means the original idea forms, how the forms function. Suddenly somebody had a bright idea, or so we think. It's not that initially they tried square wheels and then they graduated to hexagons and then they came to circle, no such thing happened. Yes, it's a bright idea because in those days, I don't think there were too many people who were around of body that they could just get the idea, you can roll them. So it must have been a bright idea. So this is what we are saying by saying this is that someone perceived the significance of form. Someone perceived the significance of perfection of geometry, how a wheel can move. If it is perfect circle, it can move with least resistance. Well, depending upon the terrain on which it rolls, it may bump and bounce, but it is still a form of least resistance. But when it comes to integrity of structure, triangle is a form with which you can arrive at maximum integrity with minimum material strength. So, the fundamental form in the way the creation happened, the inside form or the inner mechanics of all aspects of life form themselves in triangles. So triangle is seen as the most basic form, and it is. In the yogic sciences, we know how to build an entire representative cosmos through complex arrangement of triangles. Now the very famous Sri Yantra is just one representation of that. That is one basic form with which they're trying to represent how, using the same form, that is a triangle, you can make it grow in a limitless way. Using equilateral triangles, you can start with two as it is here and make this grow into trillions of triangles. And if you get it right, you will only generate more equilateral triangles. Or in other words, an equilateral triangle represents a form with highest integrity, even with minimal material strength. If you were in a jungle and you had to make a shelter for yourself, you wouldn't build a square house. You would first thing is put two things together and make a triangle, and this would be the easiest thing to do with minimum material. Someone who is acquainted with even rudimentary engineering would understand this, that triangle is one form that you can build with minimum material. So nature took to this form and went about in triangles, complex arrangement of triangles. But when movement is needed, wherever movement is needed, nature arranged itself in circles. No triangular planets anywhere, no square planets either, because the moment there is movement, the bright idea came not in a man's mind. The bright idea was always there, everywhere to see. It is not that some time ago they had a square moon. After we got the idea, it became round. No, it was always round. Anything that moves in the existence has always been round, because it's a natural selection. So anybody who paid attention would know the basic form is triangle. When movement is needed, it becomes a circle. Those of you who when we formed Isha Foundation, the symbol that I gave for Isha Foundation was a triangle within a circle, an equilateral triangle within a circle. Inside that was written Isha. Somewhere along the way, somebody lost the wheel, then someone dropped the triangle and only Isha is there, I think. I'm going to bring back the form. I already told the people to bring back the form in a different way. For whatever people believe as aesthetics, they drop a few things, but the impact of forms is still there upon you whether you like it or you don't like it. Unless you have become like this, both Adi and Ant, the beginning and the end, you are not between that space, you are beyond that space. If you are, then the forms don't matter. But if you are between Adi and Ant, that means you are in the land of forms. You are in the existence of forms. When you are in that and when you're identified with your own form, you function as a form, you have not touched the dimension of the formless, then forms become important.